In a world where time is constant, what if it's not? Explore the phantom time hypothesis, an audacious theory suggesting we're living in a fabricated past, hundreds of years, erased, invented, or manipulated. This is not sci-fi. This is a conspiracy whispering in the corridors of history. Are we in the 21st century, or is it all an illusion? Step into the realm of historical mysteries with us as we explore the phantom time hypothesis, a theory that challenges the very fabric of our chronological understanding. Proposed by Heribert Illig, this hypothesis suggests an astonishing 297 years were artificially inserted into our history. What if the year we know as 2024 is in fact 727? Welcome to Top Things. Join us as we dissect this theory, examining its origins, the evidence presented, and the formidable debate it stirs among historians and scholars. The phantom time hypothesis is an intriguing theory that proposes a revising of the historical timeline. First put forth in the 1980s by German historian Heribert Illig, the hypothesis suggests that several centuries were fabricated and inserted into the Middle Ages by Otto III, Holy Roman Emperor and Pope Sylvester II, in an effort to legitimize Otto's claim to the imperial title. This proposed revision excises 297 years from the calendar, placing the year we know as 2024 as 727 instead. The implications of the phantom time hypothesis are understandably controversial, as it effectively renders over 3 centuries of accepted history fictional. However, Illig builds a compelling case by identifying numerous calendar discrepancies, archaeological anomalies, and documentary inconsistencies during the disputed periods. If proven accurate, the phantom time hypothesis would require a fundamental restructuring of medieval chronology and a radical reinterpretation of European history between the 7th and 10th centuries. This essay will critically examine the hypothesis by tracing its origins, analyzing its key evidence, and weighing its merits against criticisms from the academic community. Origins and emergence of the phantom time hypothesis. The phantom time hypothesis was first introduced in 1991 when German historian Heribert Illig published his book An Invented Middle Ages, which claimed that the period 640 to 911 AD did not actually exist. Instead, Illig asserted that those 297 years were fabricated by Holy Roman Emperor Otto III and Pope Sylvester II at the end of the 10th century in order to legitimize Otto's claim as ruler of the Holy Roman Empire. Illig built his theory on earlier observations made in the 1980s regarding perceived inconsistencies in medieval calendars and historical accounts. These included the Julian calendar reforms during the late Roman Empire, the introduction of the Gregorian calendar in 1582, and the process of recalculating Easter dates. Illig became convinced that numerous discrepancies hinted at possible tampering or fabrication of dates during the early Middle Ages. To understand Illig's radical proposal, some background on Otto III and Pope Sylvester II provides useful context. Otto III became King of Germany and later Holy Roman Emperor as the millennium approached. He wished to strengthen his political authority and bring about a Christian empire, modeling his reign after Constantine the Great. Pope Sylvester II, born Gerbert of Aurillac, was a respected scholar and teacher who became the first French pope in 999. Both Otto and Sylvester had strong interests in reviving the glory and power of ancient Rome within their medieval world. According to Illig, the pair collaborated to introduce a fictional past by fabricating historical documents and recalibrating calendars and timelines. Their motive was to place Otto's rule in a direct line back to ancient Rome, while diminishing the intermediary kingdoms and authority of the Carolingian dynasty. This fabrication aimed to present Otto III as a Roman leader reminiscent of great ancient emperors like Constantine. While controversial, the context of Otto and Sylvester's political ambitions provides a plausible motive for possibly tampering with calendars and historical records to enhance their status. If Illig's radical claim is true, their phantom time deception stands as one of the most extensive and significant distortions of recorded human history. Evidence and analysis of the hypothesis. At the heart of the phantom time hypothesis are numerous discrepancies and anomalies Illig identified across histories, documents, and archaeological evidence from the early Middle Ages. While not conclusive individually, collectively these inconsistencies and oddities form a body of evidence that Illig argued reveals coordinated fabrication and falsification of dates by Otto III and Sylvester II. Examining this key evidence will help analyze the merits and validity of the hypothesis. Calendar irregularities. One key line of evidence involves perceived errors, contradictions, and irregularities in medieval calendars before and after the disputed 297 years. For example, Illig highlights problems reconciling lunar cycles, computational errors in Easter tables, the prematurity of the Gregorian calendar reform in 1582, and duplicated dates in recorded papal reigns during the 10th century. While medieval calendar systems and record-keeping presents inherent challenges, the identified errors often favor adjustments or deletions specifically within the disputed centuries under the phantom time hypothesis. Illig argues this non-random distribution exposes coordinated tampering of dates and histories focused on those 3 centuries that Otto and Sylvester sought to fictionalize. Gaps in archaeological record. Additionally, Illig points to limited archaeological evidence and artifacts from the disputed time period consistent with fabrication or falsification of those centuries in the historical record. He notes buildings and coins from the 7th to 10th centuries are sparsely documented compared to other eras, and what examples do exist often contain anachronisms or other irregularities. However, critics note the scarcity of archaeological evidence from those centuries could simply reflect gaps in research or lost artifacts from the Dark Ages rather than proof of fabrication. They also caution that forgery and anachronisms are naturally prevalent in medieval objects and documents, regardless of phantom time claims. Careful analysis is required to separate normal anomalies from deliberate falsification. Dubious documents and sources. Further evidence comes from dubious primary sources that provide much of the written accounts of the early Middle Ages. Illig notes many documents display stylistic irregularities, anachronistic content, or other signs of possible tampering or fabrication instigated by Otto and Sylvester. For example, the Emperor Otto III's own imperial documents portray him with Roman imperial titles and an exaggerated imperial Roman lineage. Yet here again, critics warn that many genuine medieval documents already contained anachronisms, errors, and fabricated content for various reasons. Singling out anomalies to invalidate certain unfavorable centuries while ignoring similar issues elsewhere seems a subjective and inconsistent approach, they argue. Nevertheless, defenders contend the number and nature of the specific anomalies concentrated around the disputed centuries strengthens the case for coordinated falsification to serve Otto and Sylvester's agenda. They argue historians should not dismiss the cumulative evidence and timing as purely coincidental. Lingering questions and enduring significance. Over 30 years after its introduction, the phantom time hypothesis remains controversial, but continues to intrigue and inspire debate about the construction of history and meaning of chronology. Several unresolved questions about the theory itself and its broader repercussions are worth examining. Reconciling defenders and critics. Academics remain divided about the validity of the hypothesis despite decades of analysis of the key evidence. Could the middle ground offer the best assessment of this radical claim? Perhaps acknowledging coordinated fabrication by Otto and Sylvester is plausible, while the extent proposed, excising nearly 300 years, seems exaggerated. Might efforts to enhance their status and legacy have altered or distorted histories, but not to the full degree Illig boldly suggests. Some scholars thus argue for a more limited version, a modified phantom time hypothesis, that accepts selective tampering but rejecting the entire period as false history. This could reconcile some compelling evidence with criticisms about taking such radical revision too far on limited evidence. Influence on study of history. Regardless of its validity, the phantom time hypothesis delivers an important reminder about the constructed nature of history and the role of power in shaping dominant narratives. Few dispute that Otto and Sylvester were motivated to fabricate documents to legitimize their authority. This reveals how rulers craft history to political ends, which may be more common than typically acknowledged. The hypothesis similarly highlights how shaky early medieval sources pose challenges for studying that era. It provokes vital reassessment of evidence and evaluation of historical truth claims, prompting re-examination of other contested periods too. At minimum, it demands greater skepticism, scrutiny, and context when interpreting dubious medieval accounts. Relevance beyond the Middle Ages. While specifically focused on early Middle Age Europe, the implications of the hypothesis resonate more broadly too. It highlights the inherent vulnerability of history to manipulation by political elites seeking to solidify their power, dynamics that arguably extend into the present. Rulers crafting narratives to serve their interests while disregarding objective truth and accuracy remains a recurrent phenomenon over centuries. The phantom time hypothesis also underscores the general malleability and fragility of perceived history. If centuries can be added or erased, chronology may be far more fluid than typically assumed. Our faith in dates and eras as fixed markers of change and continuity may represent a collective illusion that serves present interests rather than past reality. Beyond debating specifics, thinking critically about the constructed nature of chronology proves vital. The phantom time hypothesis, a theory suggesting a fabrication of 297 years, AD 614 to 911 in the medieval period, continues to captivate both scholarly and public imagination. Despite its controversial nature, recent discussions and analyses offer a blend of skepticism, refutation, and ongoing curiosity. Recent discussions and analyses, chronological and astronomical challenges. The hypothesis, proposed by Heribert Illig, suggests discrepancies in the Julian and Gregorian calendars and posits that Roman architecture from the 10th century appears too advanced for its time. However, recorded dates of solar eclipses and historical accounts from other cultures during the alleged missing period challenge this claim. Archaeological and documentary evidence. Skepticism arises from the lack of substantive archaeological evidence and original documents from the so-called Dark Ages, with Illig and supporters pointing to the absence of significant architectural and technological advancements as proof. Critics, however, highlight concurrent historical records from various cultures and radiometric dating methods that support the existence of the 7th to 10th centuries. Cultural and scholarly impact. The phantom time hypothesis has permeated popular culture, inspiring merchandise, debates, and alternative historical narratives. It exemplifies the human fascination with hidden histories and the possibility of major conspiracies shaping our understanding of time. Debunking efforts. Scholars and researchers have extensively refuted the hypothesis, pointing to a wealth of evidence contradicting Illig's claims. These include astronomical records, archaeological finds, and historical documents from various global cultures, all aligning with the established timeline and discrediting the notion of fabricated centuries. Eurocentrism and broader implications. Critics argue that the phantom time hypothesis is inherently Eurocentric, ignoring the synchronized historical records and cultural developments across the world during the disputed period. The theory's implications, if true, would necessitate a global conspiracy of silence, an idea widely dismissed by the academic community. Despite thorough scholarly critique and lack of empirical support, the phantom time hypothesis remains a topic of interest, illustrating the enduring appeal of questioning historical narratives. While most evidence robustly supports the continuity of history as currently understood, the hypothesis serves as a reminder of the complexities involved in reconstructing the past and the importance of critical scrutiny in historical studies. In the 3 decades since German historian Heribert Illig first proposed the phantom time hypothesis, debate has continued over whether 297 years were fabricated during the Middle Ages. While arguments persist on both sides, the theory has prompted increased critical analysis of primary sources, archaeological evidence, calendar systems, and historical assumptions from the era in question. Even without definitive resolution, the hypothesis has contributed vital reconsideration of historical truth claims and dominant chronologies. It serves as a testament to the fragility of recorded history and the inherent vulnerability of timelines to manipulation by political elites and other powerful actors. While many questions remain unsettled, the phantom time hypothesis has indelibly impacted perspectives on the early Middle Ages and construction of history itself. As we reach the end of our journey through the corridors of the phantom time hypothesis, we're left with more questions than answers. Did Otto III and Pope Sylvester II really fabricate nearly 3 centuries of history? While the hypothesis confronts us with intriguing anomalies in calendars, archaeology, and historical documents, the lack of substantial evidence and scholarly consensus leaves this theory in the realm of speculation. We encourage you to share your perspectives. What do you think about the phantom time hypothesis? Is it a mere conspiracy, or does it hold a kernel of truth waiting to be discovered? Let us know in the comments and suggest other historical mysteries you'd like us to unravel. Thank you for watching Top Thangs. References: Illig Heribert, An Invented Middle Ages, The Secret Plot to Falsify History, 2021. Fomenko A. History, Fiction or Science? Chronology 2 GZR News, Ground Zero Radio, The Phantom Time Hypothesis. Did the early Middle Ages really exist? Thought Catalog, Phantom Time Hypothesis. Was a 300-year chunk of Europe's Dark Ages completely made up? By Jerome London, updated January 16, 2024. Big Think, Phantom Time Hypothesis. Are the Middle Ages a medieval forgery? Discover Magazine, what is the truth behind the controversial Phantom Time Hypothesis?